She moved into the building on a Tuesday, the kind of day where the sky sagged like wet paper, and the clouds hovered too low as if the sky itself was eavesdropping. The apartment was cheap, suspiciously cheap, but when you're out of work and trying to patch yourself back together after a 3-year relationship shatters, price becomes the only thing that matters. The unit was livable. The air carried a faint metallic scent, like wet coins. The wallpaper peeled in thick strips, revealing older, darker layers beneath. The kitchen light flickered if you walked too hard. The bathroom mirror had a crack that ran across the glass like a scar. Still, it was hers, a space of her own, a new start. The landlord, a stiff man with yellowed nails and a stutter he tried to swallow, gave her the keys and paused before leaving. "If you need anything," he said, "just call. And let me know if 6B gives you any trouble." She blinked. "Someone lives there." He hesitated. "Sort of. He keeps to himself." She didn't ask more. She didn't want problems. Not anymore. The first night, she heard the footsteps just past 2 a.m. Slow, measured, walking the exact length of the hallway, then stopping right outside her door. She held her breath, listened. When she peeked through the peephole, there was nothing. Just the hallway, still and dim. The next night, they came again. And the next, always at 2:13 a.m. exactly. She started recording the sound with her phone, played it back the next day. Nothing, no footsteps, no ambient creaks, only silence. But she heard them. She knew she heard them. Then the scratching began. At first, it was faint, like someone dragging a dull nail across the other side of her bedroom wall. Then it became more deliberate, rhythmic. Scrape, scrape, tap, tap, tap. Her bedroom shared a wall with apartment 6B. She started sleeping in the living room, the closest. One night, desperate to feel brave again, she stood by the wall and knocked. Just once. Then again, louder. Finally, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Silence. And then 3 knocks. Not from the wall, from inside her closet. She stood frozen for what felt like an hour. Her phone slipped from her hand. The air grew cold, not chilly cold, breath-clouding cold. She finally managed to run from the apartment, barefoot, phone forgotten. She spent the night at a 24-hour diner, watching headlights blur past the rain-slicked window. She told herself she was imagining things, told herself she was just tired. But she never went back at night again. The next morning, she cornered the landlord in the lobby, demanded to know who was in 6B. He looked at her for a long time. "No one's lived there since last December," he said, voice low. "The guy before he was strange, always looking over his shoulder. Said someone was watching him through the walls. Said he kept hearing whispers. We thought he was sick." Her stomach turned. "We found him in the walls," the landlord whispered. "He'd sealed himself inside, hammered the drywall back in from the inside with his fists. There were claw marks he tried to hide from something. But there was no one else in the unit." She stepped back. "Then what's in there now?" He didn't answer. That night, she decided to leave, packed everything she could fit in a duffel, and left the rest. But when she turned the key to lock the door, she heard it. A whisper, right against her ear. "You shouldn't have knocked." She turned. No one there. The lights above her began to stutter, then die, one by one. Boom, 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 until she was in pitch black. Clutching her bag, breath caught in her chest. She ran. Aftermath. She never returned, not even to collect the rest of her things. 2 days later, the police checked the unit. They found the apartment mostly untouched, except the bedroom closet. Inside the closet, behind the false panel she'd never noticed before, was a cavity carved crudely into the wall. The insulation had been ripped out, the wood soaked and warped. And nestled in the center of that hollow space was a camera, attached to a small battery, still warm, still recording, a single feed, directly facing the bed. When police reviewed the footage, they expected grainy amateur recordings. What they saw instead made 2 of the officers resign by the end of the week. The footage showed her sleeping, from multiple angles. Even though there had only been one camera, the video blitzed, flickered. In some frames, a hand emerged from the shadows behind her pillow. In others, his face pressed against the glass of the closet, mouth unmoving but whispering, always whispering. And in one final frame, just before the footage cut to black, her own sleeping face opened its eyes and smiled, but she was still asleep.